Is it possible to relieve yourself of binge eating and release weight after a lifetime of struggling? My client Robin proves that yes, it absolutely is, even at 63 years young. Today, Robin is going to walk us through the story of how she released 40 pounds and freed herself from the binge restrict cycle through the Slim on Starch program. If you're new here, hey, I'm Healthy Emmie. I'm a nutritionist, a weight loss specialist, and the creator of the Slim on Starch program, where you work with me as well as a mindset coach and a nutrition coach to release weight on a plant-based diet. If you want to do that, click the link in the down bar. All right. Well, I'm so excited to tell your story today. So do you want to take it from the very beginning and tell us where your struggles first begin when it comes to food and body image and all of that?
Yeah. The more I thought about this, the more I realized that it started pretty young. I never really realized it before, but just a lot of neglect. I just had parents that were not very functional and, sexual abuse also. So it just really left me with feelings of being not good enough, unlovable. And then, as an adult, I struggled with gut issues, a lot of food insensitivities and stuff like that.
Yeah. And we would be very silly to think that those two things are not connected.
The more we learn about it, yeah. Mm-hmm. And what's funny, did you say that? Because when I was growing up and as a young adult, I connected the two myself, just because if I got really upset about something, I've always said that my emotions always hit me in my gut, because I would be like, oh, instantly, like, oh, my stomach is killing me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The gut is the second brain, and we have that physiological reaction to threat and to trauma and to stress. We tense up, the stomach tenses up, blood actually flows away from our digestive tract toward our limbs, our arms and our legs, to run away from a perceived threat. And for many people like yourself, as you've so bravely shared, are under this state of stress constantly, a thing that humans were never designed to experience. So of course, to have that physiological side effect is something that makes sense when we sit down and think about it. So tell me, yeah. So tell me, as you moved on later into life and into your adult years, having these gut issues, walk me through a little bit more what that looked like in your day-to-day as an adult.
So a lot of physical suffering. It started leading to other areas of my body too. But it really began to feel like food to me was a burden. It wasn't something that was helpful, it was hurtful a lot of times. It's something I really struggled with. And then because of that, and the more I found, like my youngest daughter, I found out she was hypersensitive to wheat. And so when I took her off of that, I took myself off of it, because I thought, maybe this is what's been affecting me. This was like, how old is she now? 40 almost? That many years ago. So I took myself off of that, and dairy has always been a sensitivity that runs in our family. But so when I started cutting out these things, it was really hard, especially at that time. There weren't alternatives, really, very many. And so restriction then led to binging. And what's funny is that my husband reminded me that the first time he remembers right after we got married that I had a binge episode, was I made chocolate chip cookies. And I made this huge batch. He worked nights, so I made them that evening. And it was a huge, like a triple batch. I don't know, it was like a lot of cookies. And I ate so many of them that I was embarrassed. And so I didn't want him to know that I made them. So then I tried to eat them all. It was so bad. I was rolling on the floor in pain. And when he got home that morning, it didn't work because he smelled it and he was like, "Oh, did you make chocolate chip cookies?" And I was like, uh, yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Well, it's so hard because it's not like those who struggle with alcohol or with drugs, they can abstain. Don't drink the alcohol, don't do the drugs. When you struggle with food, you can't just not eat. And when you have gut issues and food is a perceived threat, now something that you have to do in order to stay alive multiple times a day, you feel threatened by. It's a very difficult way to live, and I can fully understand how you think, well, I'm just going to try to avoid foods, I'm going to restrict, and then your body takes over, and that's when the binge eating begins. That was your body screaming and crying, saying, we need food, but of course you're in a position where you say, I know you need food, I don't know what food to give you. It's a really difficult position to be in.
Yeah. Oh, it is so true. A real struggle.
And you tried a lot of different diets to try to alleviate this. There was no lack of effort on your end. Do you want to talk a little bit about the different things that you tried and how those ended up going for you?
Yeah. So I always had this perception that I was fat, even though I look back and I was not fat. I was normal. In fact, I would, until I found you, I would always say, I thought I was fat. I wish now I could look like that. I would be more than happy. But so when I was like 14 years old, I tried my grandmother's diabetic diet, which was a really sensible, portion control and so that was okay. And I lost some weight, but then right before I got married, I lived with a roommate who did really good baking, and I don't know, anyway, long story, but I gained about 20 pounds. So then I did juice fasting. I always tried really hard to do things in a healthy way. So it was a really clean, fresh juicing and enemas and all this stuff. Then I would, cut out all sugar, cut out gluten, of course, like I said, dairy. And that was an even bigger struggle. And then, the vegan, started just cut out meat because my husband had a heart attack and we realized that meat wasn't good. And I was automatically vegan because of the dairy. I didn't really set out to be vegan, but because of cutting out meat, then that's what it was. And then but it's just always been something that I'm trying.
And this
Even
was
did the low carb thing for a while.
And you had ended up, with gastroparesis and having surgeries and going to the hospital. So this wasn't just, I was trying out these different things, nothing was working. This was really taking a major toll on your life.
It really was. I realized at one point with major inflammation. And so I had not all, but a lot of the itises, like tonsillitis when I was young. I had appendicitis, bursitis, and then and those all ended up in surgeries, and then the gastroparesis. Yeah. And then my blood pressure was climbing up and up and up.
How do you keep going in those scenarios? I mean, I can imagine that you get to a point and you think, how am I going to go on? How did you continue to go on?
I just think I'm a fighter. I grew up with a single mom who was very feisty, and she taught me a lot, even though she was not very functional as a parent. She was a fighter, and she died young. She was only 49. She died of lung cancer, long-term smoker. But even to the very end, she would not give in. She would not talk about dying. She's like, no, I don't want to hear it, because she was fighting. She wanted to keep fighting. Mm-hmm. So I think that is why I just kept thinking, there's got to be a solution out there. There has to be something that will help me. Hopeful, I guess, ever hopeful.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's interesting to explore what we think of when we think of a fighter, because all of my clients, every single SOS client, those are fighters, because they have struggled, but they've continued to try to figure this thing out, and they've come to me. And so for people watching and listening that might think, oh, you know, I'm always struggling with this. I'm not a fighter. I'm not somebody who's gonna, you know, be strong against the difficulties. If you're watching this video, you probably are a fighter, and you just aren't giving yourself enough credit for how strong you are, because you are watching this video. You are trying to see somebody that you might be able to relate to see if you can do this too. So thank you for setting this example for us for what a fighter can look like. We might not choose to be a fighter, but when we're put up against difficult circumstances and we survive, all signs point to we're a lot stronger than we think we are. And you've demonstrated tremendous strength in your journey.
I so agree with that, because I did not view myself as a fighter before. You know, earlier in my life, I would have people tell me that sometimes, you're stronger than you think you are. And I would always feel like, no, I'm not. They don't know me. I'm just a weakling. I went through a lot of feelings of failure and feeling defeated. And so I totally agree with that. I think you really just, I mean, this is my scenario. I would always do. It'd be like when something traumatic would happen, like a surgery or other traumatic things in my life. I've been through a lot of trauma, unfortunately, but would be like cry, panic, give in to self-pity for a while. And then after a while of licking my wounds, then I would be like, okay, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do something about it. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is not going anywhere and just laying there in sorrow and self-pity, which I'm not going to lie, it feels good for a short period of time. But after a while, it's like, I don't want to stay here. It's too ugly and negative. And there were sometimes I couldn't even let myself go there because I felt like I wouldn't recover. So I don't know. It's just it's always a lesson, life learning.
Yeah, we get to choose our discomfort. We can either choose the discomfort of staying the same, or we can choose the temporary discomfort that comes with making a change. So shifting to, you know, when you and I met, I love that, you know, somebody just said, you should watch these videos, and you started watching my videos. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you discovered me and this turn in your journey?
Yeah, so it was interesting because I do a Zoom friend get together every once in a while. And she's not even really a friend of mine. She's a friend of a friend. So she's more of an acquaintance of mine. But I had mentioned briefly that I was struggling with binging, because when I was really trying to find a solution to that, because that got really scary for me, because for the first time in my life, I actually thought about vomiting after binging, like seriously considered it. And that scared me to death. So I was just kind of grasping for straws. And I brought it up to my friends because, you know, just trying to find a solution. And she said, you need to watch these videos by this gal. Her name is Healthy Emmie. It's not your fault. It's really not your fault. Look at her videos. And so I did. And I'm so glad I did, Emmie. It has been the solution for me. But I thought, you know, I might as well just try and see. Everything you said, you hit all the boxes for me.
Those words, those 4 words, it's not your fault, are so powerful. So, yeah, so many of us carry so much guilt and shame and regret and blame ourselves for our struggles. It is not our faults, but it is our responsibility. And that's what you've demonstrated by coming to me, is saying, I have found myself in this place, I didn't choose this, I didn't want this, I didn't ask for this, but this is where I currently am, and I'm asking for help. I'm doing the responsible thing and asking for help.
Yeah. Yeah. I always feel like, I keep saying this a lot lately. It seems like there may be reasons why where you are, but after you're an adult and you make your own decisions, there's no more excuses. Like, you can't blame it anymore on, at a certain point, you have to take responsibility and say, I'm going to make better decisions for myself.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how things started to change once we met one another. So you found me online and you decided to send in an application. We got on a call. How did you feel when you did that? When we first got on that call and that our relationship was still very new?
I was scared. And I just was worried, like, oh my goodness, did I just get myself into some hokey program that is going to be a waste of money? Another gimmick, after you and I actually met and we talked, you inspired confidence in me. I felt hopeful because it's obvious that you're very well educated, and it wasn't just you, but it was a team. I really felt like I was getting a whole team on my side, and that felt really comforting. And it really proved to be true. It was so logical, the way you talked about it, I continue to watch your videos all the time, and it's always, for me, so logical. It's what I was missing before, the psychological aspect of it.
I think it's so important to allow ourselves to have mixed emotions, to feel scared, but also feel hopeful and optimistic, which is a big, this is speaking to what we do in SOS too, is expand the way we look at things, not to look at things in such a black and white manner, not just in terms of food, but the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So you can allow yourself to feel scared coming into this, but also feel excited and hopeful. And you displayed that, because I know that you felt nervous about doing this, but also like, I think I might be in the right place, and I'm going to ride that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about how things have changed and what you've achieved through our work together, how your relationship with food has changed. It used to be the enemy. So talk to me about that.
It's such a good thing. I feel like I'm in such a good place with food. It's not a burden anymore. I have a whole different feeling about food. It feels more like, it was either a burden or a reward before, or an emotional soothing thing. And now it's like, I really did get that mindset, like you try to help us with it. It is nourishing my body. It's just like sleep. It's necessary. It's something I enjoy. It is comforting and soothing when you're doing it the right way, but it's in a good way, not like using it as a crutch. And it's so like, it builds on top of the, I don't know how to say that. It's like, it keeps improving, because you feel like, well, that feels good to do it that way, so I want to keep doing it. It's motivating. That's the word. Yeah. So I want to take care of my body now. I want to nourish it. It's all positive. And it has even changed the way I look at my body physically. I have to share this just kind of neat thing, because when we were on vacation recently, I took a bath in the hotel bathtub, like a little treat for myself, a bubble bath. And I looked down at my stomach and I was like, oh, this is like almost like I remember my stomach looking when I was a teenager. it's not, I'm still flabby because I'm older, but it's given me that feeling like for a minute, I'm like, oh, and it was just like so neat. And then I was able to look at it in a positive way and not look at the sagginess. You know what I mean? Concentrate on the positive. It's really neat.
It's that
Food is not the enemy anymore. Yeah.
And I think that's so special too, because in your younger years, where food still was the enemy, where you had very intense body image struggles and not feeling worthy enough, and the really difficult emotional toll that was taken on you in your teen years, you didn't get that opportunity to feel that feeling of, when you did have that teenage body, but you get that now. So how cool is that? That teenage version is still inside of you and you're eliciting that feeling now. So it's not like that's lost and gone forever. She's still in there. 16-year-old Robin is still in there.
I love it. Thank you. That is so true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run with that.
Yeah, because I do talk to a lot of people who feel like, is it too late? Has the ship sailed? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I read this book, I believe it was Tuesdays with Maury, where he said people are so jealous of the 25-year-olds and the 20-year-olds and the 18-year-olds, but I have a 25-year-old inside of me. I have a 20-year-old inside of me. I have an 18-year-old inside of me. It's all still in here, and I get all of those ages, so people should be jealous of me. So it's really beautiful that now that you're currently within a safe body, you can experience all of those years in safety.
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you for highlighting that, because that's a wonderful way to look at it. Those are not lost years. I can gain them back.
Yeah, they're still in here. You can pick and choose. What do I want to be today?
Yeah. And the other aspect of that is my energy level and my body recovery time. It's amazing. Like, I didn't realize, is it just the oil? Because I was eating really healthy before. I was eating vegan, except for the binging once in a while. But, day to day, I was eating really good. And my husband would even say, you're eating so healthy. Why are you, not losing weight? Which he's never been bad about my body. He's always been very positive. But he knew my struggles. And then the other was, I still wasn't feeling very good. But now it's like I can work in the garden all day and be exhausted. But previously, if I had done that the next day, I would have to recover and be like, oh, achy and sore and feel my age, and think, oh, I'm just getting old. Now I can do that and I'm tired. I'm not exhausted. I can be out there digging and digging and digging and digging for a couple hours at least. And the next day, not even be sore. Maybe a little tired in my muscles, maybe. But it's like, wow, mind blowing.
Well, we have to consider your weight release, because do you want to share with us? And I'll explain how this is all connected, but show off a little bit and tell us what you released weight-wise.
Yeah, like 40 pounds. Yeah. So, and I had just kind of gotten used to the idea that I guess my girls would be real encouraging. They'd say, Mom, you just have a mom body. I wasn't morbidly obese, but I was definitely, as I've gotten older, just had a really hard time not letting go of that weight. Interestingly enough, if I set my mind to it, I could always lose the weight. Like I tried Weight Watchers before, and I did it the vegan way and I lost like 30 pounds. But then COVID hit and, I kept it off for like a year and a half. But then when COVID hit, I gradually put it back on. But I hadn't dealt with that psychological aspect. So, but yeah, now it's like, for me, yeah, weight loss was a goal, but it was secondary to the psychological stuff. And so when I was releasing the weight, like so easy. And now it's just so easy. I don't even have to think about it. It's like every time I step on the scale, I like every couple of weeks, I'll step on the scale and go, wow, I haven't even gained a pound. I went on vacation for 10 days. Yeah, I had some, on SOS foods that I had planned on having. And, it's like the fear in the back of your mind, like, oh no, what's that going to do to me? It didn't throw me off. I didn't binge. I felt in control the whole time. Got home, got on the scale, right where I was before I left. I'm like, mind blowing. Amazing.
So every pound overweight we are is an extra 4 pounds of pressure on our joints. So when you release 40 pounds, you're releasing 160 pounds of pressure on your joints for hours when you're out gardening. So no wonder you feel so much better. And I'll also say that trauma is stored in our body physically. It becomes physically stored in our body. And so when you release all of that weight, you're releasing a huge emotional burden as well. What are you most proud of with what you've achieved so far?
That I feel good in my own skin. I didn't think that was possible. I feel so much more relaxed. Like I dealt with a lot of anxiety before about food and binge eating. I sometimes would feel like when I would binge, I would feel like it was such a weird feeling because it was like eat as much as I can, as fast as I can. It was like a panicky thing. It's weird. So just being free of that and the body image. It's just, that's the thing. I didn't think it was ever possible for me. So I'm really proud that I did the work, because that's what I was scared of too with your program. I could tell it was going to take work, like journaling. And it's not like my favorite thing to do when I feel like it's something that I'm forced to do in a sense, because you're requiring it of me. If I do it on my own, that's different. I like to write, but it's like, I got to think deeply about this. And nothing would come. So it'd really take me a lot of work to go, okay, just slow down, think about this, put in the work. You really are you want to be dedicated to this course, and you only have 6 weeks, so you better make the best of it. Not that I only had 6 weeks, I had a choice, but I really wanted to accomplish. I'm really proud of myself that I put in the work and it paid off.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And do you know what I so admire about you, Robin, is you said, I didn't think it would work for me, but you still tried anyway. And I think that speaks volumes, and there's something to be said for people out there that think, I don't think this will work for me. You thought the same thing, but you still tried anyway.
It's so true. Yeah, I had that doubt in the back of my mind. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, at the beginning, I didn't go full force into it. I mean, you could probably tell by I think I missed the first assignment completely. But then I buckled down and said, okay. And then the more I got into it, the more I was like, this is really good. This is what I need to do. I need to get these feelings out. I need to sort my brain out and my feelings about stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
What advice would you give to somebody who's watching this that finds himself in a position similar to where you were?
I would say, don't be afraid. Really, give it a try. You won't be sorry. If you want to get to the real reasons why you're struggling with food or body image, you found the right place, and you'll be healthier in the process.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. This was so inspirational, Robin, and you inspire me. I find you so courageous and brave, and your energy is so beautiful and contagious. So thank you for spending this time with me today and for inspiring those watching.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome, Emmie. I just want to say too, I'm 63 years old, just like your mom.
63 years young.
Yes, years young, but I don't feel that way at all. I feel like I'm in my 40s, really.
I love it.
Well, thank you again, Robin. This was lovely. I'm so excited for this to go up, and I think you're really going to inspire a lot of women.
I hope so. Thank you so much for believing in me, because I've always had a hard time believing in myself, a lot of self-doubt. So,
well, if this is proof, if this isn't proof that you can do it, I mean, how cool. You know, you're going up on my YouTube channel and thousands of people are going to be inspired by you. So how cool is that? That you really can do this, and now you are setting the stage for other people too.
Yeah, thank you. I love that out of adversity there can come, positive things.
Oh, yeah.
And if it inspires others, that is the thing. I've always wanted to help others. I'm a caregiver in my profession, so it's what I like to do.
If you made it to this point of the video, comment fighter, because Robin is an absolute fighter and you are too. And if any part of Robin's story resonates with you and you're not already a client of mine, please click the link in the down bar so that we can make you a client of mine and give you the life that you deserve. I love you, honeys, and I'll see you in the next video.